money, power, respect. First you get the money.
Hi. Yay.
I'm excited with another guest. Her name is Chrissy, and she is amazing. I can't wait for you guys to chat with her and hear her perspective. I want to first start off with thanking everyone for your support, for listening, for commenting, whatever the case is. I really, really, really appreciate it. So the premise of today's episode is, are we held captive to the almighty dollar? I think a million people could relate to this. Money, money, money. And so let's start off before we talk about it. Let's start off on how we met.
Oh my gosh. Hey y'all. So I met Melissa in Santorini, Greece. I have on my I Heart Santorini. Yes. So we met on this catamaran in Santorini, and we both had on red. So I was like, immediately in Santorini, like, you just look, because all you see is white and blue, and then boom, boom, two black queens with red on.
Black chocolateness on the middle of nowhere, red on.
Yes, two black queens in red. So we get on the boat, and, I'm with my friend, and we're playing Uno, and I look over, and not only does she looks good, she has on her red, this girl is in a fur coat. I said, okay, that's my new best friend. I need to talk to her. So I walk over to her, and I'm just like, you know what? Yes, you got it. And I just started taking pictures of her. I just had to catch the moment with the water. So it was just beautiful. I loved it.
So anytime I go on vacation, I always try to search for the chocolate people. And I don't know if it's a black people thing. I don't know if everybody does that, but I know I do. And it depends, because some people look at you and we shade each other. Or it's really inviting, because it's you don't see that many of us traveling the world and experiencing things. So when I saw her and her friend, I'm like, oh my God, they're so cute. And they both had on red. And I was like, oh my God, they're so cute. We need to chat with them. And I hope we were on the same boat, because they were separating people with different boats.
Right. I remember that.
We just connected. And as soon as you saw me, it was cold. Disclaimer, guys. I know
freezing.
It was freezing cold. We were in the middle of a catamaran in the ocean, and it was freezing. So I was the only smart person who thought about bringing a fur. So I wasn't trying to be bougie. It was just happens to be that I was bad and bougie.
Yep, you sure were. I told her that too.
It was look at you looking bad and bougie. She just started taking pictures of me. And
I had to. I had to. It was just on point. I had to.
It was so dope. It was so dope and natural. So I connected with you immediately. We hung out that whole day. Basically, went to the we did the boat, and after that, we met up later, and we went out for drinks. So it was just cool.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have a friend for life, a travel friend. We need to do another trip together, actually.
Yes, we do. ASAP.
Okay, so let's transition a little bit. Our society is built around what you have, how much you can get, and it's a source of all the world wars, right? If you think about history. So how does this affect our daily lives? Let's talk about it.
Yes, let's talk about it. I think money affects everything. So it affects, our mood, how we feel, how we interact with others, how we judge others, how we perceive others, relationships, marriages. Money is top 5 reasons why people get divorced. So it really dictates everything. I know for me, on payday today, you're like, hey. And then when that next week, after you gotta stretch it a little bit, it's all right, my money's a little tight, I gotta act right. So it affects everything. And I think most important, unfortunately, it affects us in more likely than not, the negative way. So when you're broke, you're down and out, you're depressed, you're feeling I don't have my ish together, especially when you're in a world of social media and you're looking on social media and everybody just seems to have it all. So I think in my perspective, it affects us in every aspect of our lives.
I agree. Nobody's broke on social media. That's a good thought.
Nobody's
broke. Everybody apparently has lots of money. I don't know where they're getting it from, but they got it.
Yachts, they on a boat every minute. They on vacations. I might be one of them, but it don't matter.
We work hard for hours. And
we do. We do, right. But I just feel a lot of, especially with the social media aspect, it just feels am I the only one struggling? Am I the only one going through it? And I just feel unfortunately, like we are held captive to the almighty dollar. And, you know, especially in our work life, you know, it will keep you at a job that you hate. I can attest to that. It will keep you, you know, in a place that you know, you may not be happy in, but you know what, I got to make money. I got to pay bills. I have to pay for the things that I feel like uplifts my lifestyle. So I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Right. And that makes it, so anxiety, I just posted or did a little Instagram live talking about anxiety. And this was like the number one thing we talked about. People have anxiety because of money. And I think that gives you like to restriction in a way to feel like now I have to deal with whatever, like your values go out of the door, your ethics go out of the door. You're kind of putting up with more than you would because of money, especially when it comes to your job or just being in a marriage, people being in unhealthy relationships because of money. So it literally makes and breaks your life. And
it does.
And that, I think that's systematic, right? It was created that way for whatever reason. It was created that way to keep a structure in a social class. So how much are you willing to sacrifice? Like when we talk about these sacrifices people are making, like the job that they're in or they're in relationships that they're in, like how much are you think what people are willing to go?
I know, I mean, I can't speak for others, but I know for me, when it comes to money, like, listen, if I know that I have a lifestyle that I want to uphold or there's things I want to do, things that I want to accomplish, I'm guilty. I've staying at a job that, you know, I don't want to be in. And I think when it comes to like spending time with family, spending time with friends, that's kind of where I draw the line. So listen, hey, if this person's graduating, or I have a friend getting married in Rochester in 2 weeks, I can't wait to see her. You know, I know I'm flying out. Like I want to make sure that I'm there for the important times. I never want to put my job before the people that I love and care about. Because at the end of the day, that job is going to replace me. And, you know, the people that are in my corner and have my back, I want to make sure that those are the people that I'm holding near and dear to me, not a job that I'm disposable at. And so when it comes to family and friends, that's where I draw the line. But in terms of, okay, I want that bag, or I want those shoes, or I want that, I'm gonna work those extra hours to make sure I have what I want. And I feel like that's the bad part, is that we shouldn't be putting material things over our own personal time, just me time.
Time and experiences. So we all have boundaries, right? Like you said, you draw your boundaries at a certain point. I would say with me, I've had jobs on top jobs. Like there was one time, so when I moved across the country, I quit my job here in New York and I moved, and I didn't have a job. I moved with a good savings. I had a good savings, so I was responsible, but I wasn't really, I didn't have an income. And so there was one point that I was getting low on money. I was eating ramen noodles. I was having PBJs to survive. I would do temp jobs. Like I would call temp agencies and I would just do random temp jobs. And they called me one day to make, I will never forget this. It was $10.50 an hour. And it was in the middle of winter. And I had to hand out, what they told me was that I was going to have a booth outside and I was going to have to talk to people about different information. When I get there, they give me flyers and they wanted me to hand it out, kind of like in the equivalent of what Times Square is in San Francisco. So you can imagine it's like packed with like a lot of people, and I had to like stand there in the cold for like 7 hours and hand out flyers.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, Melissa, it's like the life that you're in. I beat myself up about it the whole time because I'm like, is this where you're at? Like you're thinking about your age and oh, I have a career, or I had a career and I have a degree. How could I be doing this? And then it wasn't until towards the end that I started enjoying myself. And I'm like, okay, I'm out here, I'm doing it. And yes, this is a sacrifice that I'm making, and it may be uncomfortable, but you know what? There's people doing worse. There are people selling their bodies. There are people are doing worse to make it. So you know what? Like, suck it up. You got to move to an amazing city and you're doing it. So just suck it up and have fun. And then I just started finally enjoying myself, but it took 5 hours to do it.
Right. Yeah. I definitely feel like ego plays a huge role in it. Like, especially if you're coming, before you went to San Francisco, if you were at a place where you had status and you had that money, going to, I'm sure that $10 an hour job, handing out flyers, is just like you said, what am I doing with my life? Where am I going? Like, especially when you get to a certain age. So I will be the first to admit, I am having that 25 midlife, mid-century crisis, that post-grad depression, all of it. That's me. Me. So it's like, as you know, especially with me, you know, with the job that I have, where I am in a position where, you know, I am over others, and I'm doing that. It's like to go to another position where I don't have that status, I don't have that title, I don't have, you know, that those extra zeros on there. It's like it hurts a little bit, you know. And even if I have that extra time, that me time, the flexibility, and even the things that you asked me earlier, what's important to you, even if I have those, it's still that money that's like on the back of my mind, like, hey, like I need a certain dollar amount in my bank account. I need that security. I need that stability. Like those are also important to me. And those are all things that money provides.
Right. And like you said, you had to have a boundary though. Like you set your boundary at family and friends and your time. Like I set my boundary around my sanity. So whenever I'm in a situation that, like my last job, where it literally started to now affect my mindset, and like I started to feel like anxious and depressed to be there, I'm just like, okay, I need to change, because that's where I draw my line. I think that the ego part is huge, because the more you got, the cooler you are, and the way that you're treated, right? Like the first thing that people ask you is, what do you do? Where do you work? Why? Because they need to know how they should treat you, how they should speak to you. And it's like, well, what does that matter? But it does in our society.
It does.
So it's like a constant like balancing act, and you're chasing something, and then you're getting it, and then you're spending it, and then you're getting some more, and then it's like back and forth.
Absolutely.
So what are some ways you practice humility, and what is important to you aside from money, which a lot of it we just talked about?
Giving back for me. Like my mom always raised me to give back, to help when you can, to whom much is given, much is expected. And so, you know, growing up, like we would always, like at least once a month, we would cook for the homeless. So we would go to our ShopRite, because that's what we got in New York. We would go to our ShopRite and we would get some ground turkey, some tomato sauce, some pasta, all that, and we would cook spaghetti for the men's shelter. And I always asked her, like, hey, like, why do you always go to the men's shelter? We never, you know, went to a women's shelter. And I asked her, and she said, you know, women shelters have more resources. You know, there are programs out there for women. There are programs out there for those kind of shelters. And I feel like she just felt like men didn't have those kind of resources. And so, you know, we always went to those men's shelters. And I was like, wow, that's a really good perspective. I never thought of that. And so I know with my current job, you know, giving to the United Way, donating, I know here in Charlotte, I've donated to schools, the local schools here, for bullying and keeping kids off the streets and different things like that. And so that's one of the ways that I try to give back, try to help, especially my family, those around me. If anybody is in need of help and I can help, I always make sure that I do.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you. And by the way, that's commendable for your mom to like even think about it. Like that means that she thought about it. She didn't just want to do it. She thought about it.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Not to mention, she doesn't have a car. We live in Brooklyn, near kind of like Kings Plaza. She doesn't have a car, so that rental car costs on top of that too. You know, to get to there and back. You know.
Wow. So it was an investment in a way that she
did.
Amazing. I would say with me, I think, like you said, like if I believe that what you get because you give. Yeah. And so it's the ebb and flow, right? Like you will get more money if you give more money. Like that's how you should be thinking, right? And it's not about greediness. And sometimes I think about it as to a fault, because sometimes I give too much and then I'm left with nothing. So I like hinder myself and not put myself first. So I still am battling with the balance of that. But I do think that giving, like whatever way you can, even today, like this morning, I was going to the train, I was rushing, and this lady was trying to get upstairs with like all these bags, and I'm like looking around looking for a man that could help her, because I'm like, I can't do it right now, but let me try to find somebody that can. And I was like rushing too fast that I couldn't find somebody. And I was thinking about it the whole train ride, like back to work. I'm like, damn, I should have helped her. I know my back would have hurt and it probably would have been a lot, but I should have helped her. Like I always feel for that. And I wonder if there are people that think about it that way, especially in New York. Everyone's moving so fast. And I mean, you could have seen the amounts of people that passed by her without even giving her like a second look. And it's like, damn, are people even thinking about ways to like be humble enough to want to help somebody that needed it, you know? I don't think there are many people that do. So like, that's big that you can.
Unfortunately, not in New York, and I was born and raised there. I love it. That's my home. Gonna always be my home forever. But I do see the difference from being in the North and being in the South. So, down here, if I'm ever like, the men, they hold the door. If I'm ever like have bags, hey, do you need help? Or they'll take those extra couple of minutes to make sure that you're okay. And so I think that that's the difference between like the Northern culture and the Southern culture. But I think you're right. A lot of people probably did not even think, wow, this is a woman, struggling with bags or anything. I feel like, honestly, if you're not like pregnant on the train or the bus, people really are not about to pay you no mind.
Not even pregnant. I've seen a pregnant girl and not one man got up to give her the seat.
Wow.
Not one. And then there was another time that I saw a girl got up. She was sitting with a whole bunch of men, and the girl got up and gave up her seat.
Wow. See, now that's embarrassing.
So you know how it goes. You know how it is.
Yeah. Right. That's embarrassing.
Well, the fit is what it is.
That's true. Yeah.
So how are you healing your lineage and breaking cycles around money and like the way that we live by money in your perspective?
I know for me, like growing up, I didn't necessarily have like the best example for saving money and have the tools to, okay, so when you're on your own, this is what you should do. And so honestly, I've kind of had to be, that latchkey kid that had to, kind of figure it out. And so I think with me, one thing that I've really, really mastered all by myself was, I would say, budgeting. And that's something that college definitely failed me at. Nobody teaches you that. Is budgeting, is knowing, okay, so every month I have this amount of money coming in and this amount of money coming out. How am I going to navigate this and make sure that at the end of it, not only is everything paid off, but I have some money left over. And so for me, budgeting is super important. Making sure I got good credit. Okay, I'm trying to be a catch, you ladies, this is important. Don't expect from a man what he can't expect of you. So listen, if you want a man with good credit, you need to have good credit too. So I'm making sure I'm paying them bills on time. I'm paying them bills on time. I'm making sure that I'm making multiple payments. They want to see that. Creditors want to see that. So, I'm making sure I'm doing that. I also, one of my goals this year, and I only have a couple more months, was to start investing. I need to start investing.
I can help you with that.
Yeah. Generational wealth is the goal. Okay. So not just money, but wealth. So yeah, Queen Bee, Beyonce, she had done something where she had, she didn't want to get paid in money. She wanted to get paid in stock. And now what she got was double what they were going to give her. So it's like, okay, I'm listening to these gems. They're dropping them in their songs. Just listen. But for me, it's just budgeting, and I'm trying to do the investing, saving money. So I don't know about you, but the way that I was able to afford Greece was I have $100 every week that goes into my traveling fund. And whenever I'm ready to book something, just get out of that fund right there, and that's how I'm traveling. Nothing needs to be coming out of my checking account.
So I told my sister this in confidence because I didn't think she was going to judge me. But I was like, I have the money that I'm using, like even at my trips, like I have it on a separate account, and I put money towards that every paycheck. And she said, oh, so you just have a whole separate account that you use? How much you putting in there? And I should have never told her the amount that I'm putting in there. And she's like, what? That's just a check. And I was like, girl, fall back. Like, don't judge me. Like, I work hard, right? Yeah. But you're right. I do the same exact thing, and she was judging me so hard. But I think it's important to separate out your money. I have two separate accounts, 2 separate checking accounts, 2 separate savings accounts. Like, I section out my money. I have stocks. I have bonds. I have CD account. I separate money. I think I read early on that that's a good thing to do, because you start accruing in different ways, and then you start thinking about, okay, how do I have my money in separate locations? And once you add it and you start thinking about your revenue on a year, you're like, oh wait, like I have a lot more than I thought. And then that's like you can control your spending.
Yeah, it's super important, because when you see that lump sum, you like, yeah, I could buy those shoes. Yeah, I can go out for dinner and act a fool. Yeah, I can go out. No, like some of that needs to be set aside, because when you're thinking about a rainy day, your checking account shouldn't even be on your radar. That checking account should just be liquid funds that you just have sitting there, but your savings account should be for what you really want. And I think that that's a important practice, because it's going to keep you grounded. It's going to keep you grounded, and it's going to keep you level-headed, because when that check hit and it's just sitting in one account, you think that you're rich, and then you just start spending money, not keeping track of it. Right. And then it's so easy to start having a spending problem. I'm one of the people that have a spending problem. Okay. Last year, I don't even want to tell you how much money I spent in Fashion Nova. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. So, I think it's definitely important. Tell your sister, just chill for a second. It's a method to our madness, So.
I would say the same thing as you. No one taught me how to budget. My mom was not the most responsible person when it came to money. And then I saw like the effects when my father left my mom, how like that affected our livelihood, because my father was the one who kind of controlled the money in the household. And then my mom didn't have the education to do so because he was always doing it. So, like it's important to learn how to do it. So I'm anal. So I have like a budget tracker, like an Excel spreadsheet with like calculations and all that. I monitor it on a monthly basis. And some of the people on my Instagram and social media know I've shared it before, the template, to other people. That way you can, people can utilize it.
Yeah.
But I keep it on a yearly basis, and I monitor my income, how much I pay in bills, how much I have left over, how much I save. All of that is really, really, really important.
It is.
To do these things. And at 21, I remember a friend introduced me to another friend who was starting a, what is it called? Like not life coach, but like a financial advisor.
Mm-hmm.
He had a financial advisor company through his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one who he was like, Melissa, you want to pay this down? Let me show you. And like, I went and he helped me open like a life insurance account. I opened a money market account. I learned what a CD account was, and like IRA, and how I can start distributing my money. I went into stock. One random day, I just like went into Scotch Trade, and I was like, I want to put some money on. It was when Yelp kind of just started. And
okay.
I want to buy some stocks on Yelp. What do I do? And they sat with me and they explained it to me, and they were like, just start putting this amount and then just see how it goes and monitor.
Yeah.
And now, I have money in there. And so I'm not a big, stock before is a real gambling game. So it's like a lot of fun. So I just kind of leave it there. But it's just good to just make yourself knowledgeable. There are resources, there are ways to do it, but you have to do something and educate yourself, especially because we're not really educated and our parents didn't know, and a lot of the first generation or whatever the case is. So I think it's important to break our cycles and really be more responsible and think about it.
For sure. I definitely agree with everything you just said. I feel like in the Black community, that's the one area that we have honestly failed each other, our kids, our grandkids. Like, I feel like this whole generation, this idea of generational wealth is somewhat kind of far away. When I think of the Jay-Z's and the Beyoncé's of the world, and just the people, the Oprahs, the people that are of status, it's like, you have a responsibility to help those in your lineage, help those behind you. And I feel like to a certain extent, our families, our grandparents, they failed us, and it's because they didn't know. Right. And I think when you know better, you do better. And I think it's super important for, when you have that knowledge, to pass it on to others. And so I will be attending your stocks class. Go ahead and sign me up, because I really want to know those things. And I think we get so, especially as Black people, overwhelmed by just by living, and I'm not trying to be, the dramatic one, or the person that cries wolf, but just life is difficult. And so I think at times, you're just trying to make it to the next day. You're just trying to make it to tomorrow. You're just trying to make it to next week. So you're not even worried about, when I have kids, what am I going to leave for them? Do they have land? Do they have homes? Do they have anything that I can show for, And I think that that's so important. That's definitely my goal. When I bring kids into this world, they're going to know okay, well, mom did what she needed to do, and I'm going to know because she knew. And I think it's super important that we educate each other. Yeah. Because we should be further along than we are, if we're being honest, and it's sad. Yeah. We're at jobs that we hate day in and day out, and we have nothing to show for it.
Oof. Gosh, that hit, you guys. Oh, that was good. Thank you so much, Chris. And gosh, if we don't, if that, we have to end there. I have to drop the mic there, at that point. But thank you so much for chatting with me about a really important topic. This is really good. I hope you enjoy it. Everyone, thank you for listening. Stay tuned for the after credits. That's the best part. And we'll chat soon.
We will. I'm going to be in New York and I'm going to see you soon.
All right, cool.
All right.